Imagine a world where freedom is but an illusion, and our existence a mere sentence in an unseen prison. Welcome to Stoic in Your Life, where today we delve into a thought experiment that might change your perspective on life itself. In the 19th century, philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer peered deeply into the human condition, recognizing a world of pain and suffering. He didn't see a quest for happiness, but rather a struggle to lessen the constant agony inherent in our existence. What if, like Schopenhauer, we view our world not as a free expanse but as a vast, invisible prison? Consider this: our lives, akin to an involuntary stay in a penitentiary, are marked by boundaries we didn't choose. The walls of time inexorably close in, each day drawing us nearer to the inevitable end. Within these confines, we experience a relentless stream of suffering, tragedy, and despair. Our existence, much like inmates seeking temporary solace, becomes a desperate chase for fleeting pleasures amidst pain. The natural world mirrors a prison's hierarchy, with species locked in an endless battle for dominance. Survival of the fittest, nature's ruthless dictum, plays out as creatures prey on each other in a vicious cycle of life and death. Humanity, not exempt from this struggle, exploits and is exploited, ravaging its environment only to eventually succumb to disease or disaster. Unveiling this grim reality, we're compelled to question the notion of a world crafted by a benevolent creator. Schopenhauer's perspective paints a stark picture: a world devoid of divine grace, more akin to a penal colony than a divine creation. But here's where it gets intriguing. While seeing the world as a prison might seem like a path to despair, Schopenhauer's philosophy holds a paradoxical key to a profound understanding of our existence. In today's episode on Stoic in Your Life, we dive into Schopenhauer's essay on the sufferings of the world, exploring his pessimistic view of life. But more importantly, we'll uncover the hidden wisdom within this bleak outlook that could surprisingly offer a beacon of hope and insight for us all. Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher known for his pessimistic view of life, posited a thought-provoking idea. Rather than pleasure, it is pain that forms the core of our existence. Contrary to common belief, he argued that evil, by making its presence felt, is the true positive element in life. Good, in contrast, is merely the absence of disturbance, a negative state. Happiness and contentment, then, are nothing more than the fulfillment of a desire or the cessation of some form of pain. This perspective leads us to understand that our desires and needs are born from the experience of pain. Take hunger, for instance. It begins as discomfort and can escalate into pain, driving us to seek food. In this light, eating is not inherently pleasurable. It is deemed so only because it satisfies a desire born from a sense of lack or pain. Schopenhauer believed that in the grand scheme, pain outweighs pleasure. The pleasures we experience often fall short of our expectations, while the pains we endure are more intense than anticipated. Consider the natural world, where one animal preys on another. The pleasure of the predator in eating is vastly overshadowed by the pain of the prey being eaten. This stark comparison illustrates Schopenhauer's view of life as not just a series of disappointments, but a deceitful journey. As we age, life becomes increasingly painful, marked by tragedies, growing susceptibility to illness, and the looming presence of death. Youth, with its idealism, paints a promising picture of life. However, as time passes, our high hopes erode under the weight of life's hardships. We face insecurity, betrayal, poverty, physical suffering, and perhaps even the loss of reason. The realization dawns that life is not an endless stream of joy and that happily ever afters are rare. Achievements like owning a dream house, accumulating savings, or having a vibrant social life offer little solace against the immense pain of existence on this desolate rock of doom we call Earth. The fulfillment of our desires and the continual suppression of them through pleasure only lead to boredom, another form of dissatisfaction. In the words of a Stoic philosopher, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This quote reminds us that our perception of pain and pleasure is often influenced by our mindset. To connect this philosophy to modern life, it's important to recognize that while Schopenhauer's views may seem bleak, they offer a lens through which we can re-evaluate our understanding of happiness and suffering. In a world where we are constantly bombarded with the pursuit of pleasure and the avoidance of pain, his philosophy invites us to find contentment in the simple act of being, rather than in the endless chase of desires. The advice for our contemporary lives, then, is to seek balance. We should acknowledge the inevitable presence of pain and suffering, but also find joy in the small, everyday experiences. By shifting our focus from the relentless pursuit of pleasure to a more stoic acceptance of life's ebbs and flows, we can find a deeper, more sustainable form of contentment. This approach encourages resilience, a quality that becomes increasingly vital as we navigate the complexities of modern existence. In the philosophical landscape painted by Arthur Schopenhauer, the world is portrayed not as a place of hope and joy, but as a grim prison of existence. Schopenhauer's perspective is stark. Life, in his view, is akin to a punishment, a consequence of some unknown transgression. He vividly illustrates this by urging us to consider the vast extent of suffering and pain that the sun witnesses daily on its journey across the sky. He suggests that life, with all its misery, might have been better left unmanifested, much like the lifeless crystalline surface of the moon. Schopenhauer's analogy of humans to lambs under a butcher's watchful eye is particularly striking. In this comparison, we, like the lambs, are subject to forces beyond our control, awaiting our turn in a cycle of inevitable misfortune. This sense of powerlessness permeates our existence, trapping us within the confines of life's unpredictability. Faced with this bleak reality, people respond in different ways. Some, overwhelmed by the relentless cycle of suffering, choose to exit life prematurely. Others find solace in temporary pleasures, seeking refuge in the joys of the moment to distract from past sorrows and future anxieties. This pursuit of pleasure, according to Schopenhauer, is a way of coping with the inherent suffering of life. To expand on this philosophy and make it more relatable, consider the story of Sisyphus from Greek mythology. Sisyphus was condemned to roll a boulder up a hill, only to watch it roll back down, repeating this futile task for eternity. This story echoes Schopenhauer's view of life as a repetitive cycle of labor and suffering, with brief moments of respite before the next wave of hardship. While acknowledging the harsh realities of life, we can also draw lessons and advice for improving our lives. For instance, understanding that suffering is a part of life can lead to greater empathy and compassion for others. It can also inspire us to find meaning and purpose in our struggles, rather than succumbing to despair. Moreover, recognizing the transient nature of pleasure can motivate us to seek deeper, more lasting sources of fulfillment, such as personal growth, relationships, and contributing to the greater good. This perspective encourages us to face life's challenges with resilience and to find joy in the journey, despite its inherent difficulties. In conclusion, Schopenhauer's philosophy, though somber, offers valuable insights into the human condition. By accepting the inevitability of suffering and the impermanence of pleasure, we can learn to navigate life with greater wisdom and compassion. This understanding can empower us to live more meaningful lives, finding beauty and purpose even in the midst of hardship. The lesson here is not to despair in the face of life's challenges, but to embrace them as opportunities for growth and transformation. Imagine yourself in a world that feels more like a prison than a home. This is the stark reality that philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer urges us to confront. He eloquently states, "If you want a safe compass to guide you through life, and to banish all doubt as to the right way of looking at it, you cannot do better than accustom yourself to regard this world as a penitentiary, a sort of a penal colony." This perspective, though seemingly bleak, holds a profound truth about our existence. As we navigate through life, we often find ourselves amidst competition, intolerance, and even hatred towards others. Life, already challenging, becomes even more burdensome as we, knowingly or unknowingly, add to each other's suffering. We become the architects of our own misery, often unforgiving and overly critical of others' mistakes. But pause for a moment and consider, is this animosity justified when we all share the same fate of being human, alive in a world that often feels like it's against us? Schopenhauer reminds us, they are the shortcomings of humanity, to which we belong, whose faults, one and all, we share. Yes, even those very faults at which we now wax so indignant, merely because they have not yet appeared in ourselves. This insight urges us to reflect on our shared human condition, where deep within us lie the same faults we often despise in others. They are dormant, waiting for the right moment to surface, just as they do in those around us. If we embrace this view of life, recognizing our shared anxieties, insecurities, grief, and restlessness, we can adjust our expectations. What we often label as bad incidents are merely the logical outcomes of an existence steeped in misfortune. When someone is rude to us, instead of taking it personally, we can understand that their behavior is a reflection of the life they've endured. They, like us, are prisoners in this world, constantly bracing for the next hardship, the next beating by the guardsman. This perspective doesn't just offer a lens to view the world, it opens the door to compassion. As the Stoic philosopher Seneca once said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. This is a call to recognize the shared suffering in our collective human experience. People aren't always at their best, not because they inherently choose to be so, but often because they haven't found a way to transcend the suffering that life invariably brings. In this shared prison of existence where we all serve our sentence, Schopenhauer's philosophy doesn't just offer a bleak outlook, but a chance for profound empathy. By understanding that we are all in this together, facing similar battles, our approach to life and to each other can transform. We can learn to be more forgiving, less judgmental, and more compassionate. This shift in perspective is not about resigning to a grim reality, but about finding a way to navigate through it with a heart full of understanding and compassion, making our collective journey a bit more bearable. In the labyrinth of life, where each turn seems to lead us further into a maze of existential questions, the philosophy of Arthur Schopenhauer offers a lantern in the dark, illuminating a path that many might find unsettling, yet profoundly true. Schopenhauer, with his piercing insights, suggests that our world might be akin to a prison, a place where suffering is as inherent as the walls that confine us. But within this somber realization lies a secret, a key to a form of liberation that is both subtle and powerful: compassion. Compassion, as Schopenhauer posits, is not merely an emotional response, but a profound understanding. It is the ability to look beyond the surface of individual struggles and see the universal struggle that binds us all. In a world that often feels like a penitentiary, where no one has chosen to be a part of this existential incarceration, compassion emerges as the most sincere form of solidarity. It is an acknowledgement that in this involuntary journey of life, we are all in the same boat, navigating through the storms of fate and the uncertainties of existence. Schopenhauer's philosophy urges us to see our fellow human beings not as adversaries competing in a zero-sum game, but as comrades, fellow sufferers, in this collective ordeal. This perspective is transformative. It shifts our focus from a self-centered struggle for survival to a more altruistic approach, where the well-being of others becomes integral to our own. Compassion becomes the thread that weaves together the fabric of human connection, making the burdens of life lighter as they are shared. 7 profound life lessons from the great philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer. Thought is the source of happiness. The richer the inner world, the more joy it brings. In our journey through life, we often find ourselves oscillating between moments of joy and periods of discontent. This dichotomy, as the great philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer insightfully observed, stems from the human condition's inherent struggle with pain and boredom. Schopenhauer's profound wisdom Life is like a pendulum swinging back and forth between pain and boredom, encapsulates the essence of our existential challenges. When our desires remain unfulfilled, we experience suffering. Yet when they are satisfied, a sense of ennui often ensues, leaving us feeling unfulfilled and restless. The key to transcending this cycle of dissatisfaction, according to Schopenhauer, lies in the power of thought. He posited that true joy springs from within, from the depths of our own minds. In his view, the world is divided into two kinds of people, those who are adept at thinking and those who are not. The latter group often seeks external sources of pleasure such as entertainment, shopping, or other worldly indulgences. However, these fleeting joys are just that, temporary. When these external stimuli fade, a profound sense of emptiness often follows. In contrast, individuals who revel in the act of thinking derive their joy from an internal source. This form of happiness, untethered from the material world, remains constant even when external factors such as wealth, status, or fame dissipate. It's a purer, more enduring form of contentment, rooted in the richness of one's inner life. Schopenhauer identified three distinct traits in those who find joy in thought. Firstly, they possess a deep love for knowledge, understanding that intelligence and wisdom expand the soul's horizons. Secondly, they value solitude, recognizing that it fosters independent thought, which in turn is the wellspring of happiness. Lastly, they exhibit fewer material desires, understanding that a rich inner life diminishes the need for external validation and material possessions. Free from the shackles of materialism, they experience a greater sense of mental and physical well-being. To augment Schopenhauer's perspective, let's consider a famous Stoic quote, "He who is content with what he has is rich." This Stoic wisdom resonates with Schopenhauer's teachings, emphasizing the importance of internal contentment over external acquisitions. It encourages us to find richness in our thoughts and perspectives, rather than in material possessions. In our modern world, where external stimuli constantly bombard us, Schopenhauer's lessons are more relevant than ever. We are often lured into believing that happiness can be purchased or found in the next big thing. However, true contentment lies in nurturing our inner world, in embracing solitude for reflection, and in valuing knowledge and personal growth over material gains. To apply these lessons in our daily lives, we should strive to cultivate a habit of introspection and independent thinking. By doing so, we can develop a richer inner life, one that brings sustained joy and contentment, irrespective of our external circumstances. In essence, Schopenhauer teaches us that the richest treasures are found not in the external world, but within the depths of our own minds. By embracing this philosophy, we can navigate life's pendulum swings with greater ease and find lasting happiness in the richness of our own thoughts. Only by ignoring the opinions of others can one truly live as oneself. Arthur Schopenhauer, a philosopher of great renown, imparted several profound life lessons, one of which profoundly addresses the human preoccupation with others' opinions. He observed that a significant portion of human suffering stems from an excessive concern about how others perceive us. This obsession often leads to a neglect of our true feelings and desires. Schopenhauer pointed out a common short-sightedness in human behavior. He argued that whether we are praised or criticized by others, it ultimately has no real bearing on our true selves. If we constantly seek validation or fear judgment from others, we risk falling into a trap of inferiority, a pit from which escape is arduous. He strongly advocated for living authentically, emphasizing that our identity should be self-defined rather than shaped by external validation. The quest for approval from others, he believed, is a path to sadness. This is particularly poignant in a world where many chase titles, honors, wealth, and status, mistakenly equating these with success and respect. Schopenhauer's perspective is that our true value is self-determined, not dictated by external accolades or possessions. An overemphasis on societal approval is, in essence, a reflection of inner insecurity. To find happiness, one must detach from the weight of others' opinions. A person indifferent to societal judgment possesses a liberated and mature heart. And happiness, according to Schopenhauer, lies in the freedom and tranquility of the soul. In his work Wisdom of Life, Schopenhauer illustrated this concept with a poignant story. After a concert, a musician felt elated by the audience's thunderous applause, only to discover that the audience was deaf, clapping loudly to mask their own impairment. This revelation plunged the musician into self-doubt and disappointment. This allegory serves as a metaphor for our lives. Schopenhauer likened the external world's opinions to the applause of the deaf, unable to dictate the course of our lives. We are the masters of our destiny, and altering ourselves to please others reduces us to mere puppets. Such a life is as lamentable as the disillusioned musicians. Expanding on this lesson, it's essential to draw parallels with contemporary examples. Consider the influence of social media, where the quest for likes and followers often dictates behavior. This digital applause can be as misleading as the deaf audiences clapping leading individuals to question their worth based on external validation. To truly embrace Schopenhauer's lesson, one must cultivate self-awareness and confidence. It involves recognizing that our worth is inherent and not contingent on others' perceptions. This realization fosters a sense of inner peace and freedom, liberating us from the shackles of societal expectations. In conclusion, Schopenhauer's advice is timeless and increasingly relevant in our interconnected world. The pursuit of external validation is a futile endeavor that leads to dissatisfaction and self-doubt. Instead, finding contentment and self-worth within oneself is the key to a fulfilling life. His teachings encourage us to reflect on our values and priorities, urging us to live authentically and independently, free from the constraints of societal judgment. This path, though challenging, leads to true happiness and inner peace. Free your mind and you will have a happy life. Schopenhauer, a great philosopher, challenges our conventional understanding of happiness. He famously remarked, "Wealth is like seawater. The more you drink, the thirstier you become. The same is true for power and status." This powerful statement underpins his belief that happiness is not tied to material gains, but is an internal state, deeply rooted in the freedom and independence of our spirit. Imagine happiness as a journey, not a destination defined by the accumulation of wealth, power, or status. These pursuits, while seemingly fulfilling, often lead to a superficial and transient form of happiness. Once this fleeting joy dissipates, it leaves behind a void, an endless emptiness that yearns for something more substantial and enduring. Consider the common scenario where people immerse themselves in social activities, believing that increased participation equates to a more fulfilling and happier life. Schopenhauer, however, warns that such engagements often scatter our energies, breeding frivolity and anxiety. He advocates for the joy of solitude, suggesting that true contentment comes from learning to appreciate and embrace our own company. Schopenhauer's recipe for a truly happy life is threefold. First, cultivate a rich soul. This involves nurturing our inner selves, exploring our passions, and engaging in activities that enrich our spirit. Second, continuously affirm your own value. This self-encouragement is crucial in maintaining a positive self-view and resilience in the face of life's challenges. Third, strive to leave a spiritual legacy. Schopenhauer believed that the ultimate happiness is achieved when we use our thoughts and talents to contribute something meaningful to humanity. This could be through art, music, literature, or any form of creative expression that leaves a lasting impact, a spiritual wealth for the world. In the spirit of Schopenhauer's teachings, let's also draw inspiration from the Stoic philosophers. Seneca, a renowned Stoic, once said, "True happiness is to enjoy the present without anxious dependence upon the future." This aligns beautifully with Schopenhauer's emphasis on inner contentment and the reduction of desires. It's about finding joy in the now, in the simplicity of being, rather than in the relentless pursuit of more. As you reflect on these insights, remember that happiness is an inward journey. It's about freeing your mind from the shackles of material desires and societal expectations. It's about finding peace in solitude, valuing your own worth, and contributing to the world in a way that leaves a lasting spiritual legacy. This is the path to a truly happy life, a journey that each of us can embark on by looking inward and embracing the wisdom of great thinkers like Schopenhauer and the Stoics. Embracing life's struggles with the fortitude of a warrior. In the twilight of his years, at the age of 72, Arthur Schopenhauer, the great philosopher, departed from this world in a manner as serene as a gentle breeze post a mundane morning breakfast. His final act of benevolence was to bequeath his worldly possessions to charitable causes, a testament to his profound understanding of life's transient nature. Schopenhauer once profoundly stated, "Living in this world, we should have a soul as strong as iron, wearing armor against fate, holding weapons against the ways of the world. Life is a battle, and every step is a challenge." This statement, succinct yet brimming with depth, serves as a beacon of strength. It encapsulates the essence of human existence, a perpetual cycle of falling and rising, where the true mastery of one's destiny is forged in the relentless pursuit of self-improvement and resilience. In his seminal work, Wisdom in Life, Schopenhauer articulates this unyielding spirit with remarkable clarity. This book, transcending centuries, continues to resonate with readers today, stirring their souls with its profound insights and unwavering sincerity. It is a shining example of the timeless allure of classic philosophy, offering guidance and inspiration across generations. To augment this philosophy with another timeless perspective, consider the words of a Stoic philosopher: "He who fears death will never do anything worth of a man who is alive." This quote complements Schopenhauer's ethos, emphasizing the importance of courage and action in the face of life's inevitable challenges. Drawing parallels to our modern lives, Schopenhauer's philosophy is more relevant than ever. In an era where change is constant and challenges are multifaceted, his teachings urge us to don an armor of resilience. We are reminded that life, much like a battle, demands courage, strategic thinking, and an indomitable will. Each step, though fraught with challenges, is an opportunity for growth and self-discovery. In navigating the complexities of contemporary existence, Schopenhauer's wisdom serves as a guiding light. His advocacy for a soul as strong as iron is not just a call to endure but to thrive amidst adversities. It encourages us to view life's battles not as burdens, but as catalysts for personal development and fulfillment. To embody this philosophy is to approach life with a warrior's spirit, armed with the knowledge that every challenge is a stepping stone towards mastering our fate. It is to understand that the true measure of success lies not in the absence of failure, but in the ability to rise each time we fall. This mindset, deeply rooted in Schopenhauer's teachings, is a powerful tool for anyone navigating the journey of life, especially those in the prime of their years seeking wisdom and direction. In conclusion, Schopenhauer's fourth lesson on life implores us to embrace our struggles with the fortitude of a warrior. It is a call to arm ourselves with resilience, to face the world with a spirit of indomitability, and to find strength in the challenges that life presents. As we journey through the modern world, let us carry this lesson in our hearts, using it to guide our actions and shape our destinies. For in the words of Schopenhauer, life is indeed a battle, and every step, a challenge, a profound truth that continues to inspire and empower. Limit expectations. The safest way to avoid excessive sorrow is not to hope for too much happiness. It's argued that a life with less suffering is far better than one filled with fleeting joys. In our youth, we chase our goals with energy and anxiety, pursuing distant ideals of happiness. We strive for career ambitions to become someone in society, battling to become someone we are not. In other words, we create pressure for ourselves, and our expectations are very high. Especially today, the lifestyle of the rich and famous appears as a model to emulate. But behind the scenes, they often struggle with serious issues like drug abuse, depression, and anxiety. We should stop chasing these ideals. Instead of struggling to gain or experience things that make us happy, we should focus on minimizing pain as we age. Many of us recognize this pattern and begin to abandon the frantic pursuit of happiness that caused us suffering in our younger years. We start to focus on minimizing pain rather than pursuing life's pleasures. This invisible craving leads us to endless torment and allows desire to control our lives, which becomes less effective as we age. But it's certainly much better if we try to limit our expectations from a young age to live happier years with less suffering. To do this, we need to study how we see the world and ourselves. The way we perceive ourselves and the world is sometimes the root of our unhappiness. We need to be more realistic about our qualities and skills. We should set our career goals more realistically. Moreover, we need to be more compassionate towards others, expect less from our partners, and stop demanding perfection from others. It's better to work based on our actual qualities and skills and develop them step by step rather than pretending to be something we're not to achieve a higher position at work. Additionally, it's better to enjoy the company of an imperfect partner than to constantly change partners in pursuit of a perfect one. Being peacefully happy and healthy is far more important than being famous, loved, or having a partner as a trophy to boast about. Therefore, we need to limit expectations and learn to enjoy life as it is. Cultivate compassion. Compassion is the foundation of morality. There are many ways to liberate humans from suffering and save them from the existential crisis. One is the path of art, a powerful and desire-free path, and another is the path of morality. If art is a temporary measure, morality is a long-term solution. Therefore, we must realize that happiness is not the goal of life. Life has no goal, and perhaps sleep is the only moment when a person achieves a natural state of happiness. Our environment becomes unbearable if we lack any moral guidance to overcome it. We need to find meaning in this world, and one of the most effective ways to do this is to learn to be compassionate towards others. We should not pursue our happiness at the expense of others. Ultimately, we are all expressions of will, living together in this life. According to Schopenhauer, all moral actions can be summed up as not harming anyone, but helping everyone within your capacity in daily life. To demonstrate kindness and good morality, we need to consider those around us every time we speak and act, ensuring we do not harm anyone. Our actions should be fair and caring towards others. Additionally, we should try our best to help those in need. It's not hard to say kind words to the company you work for, or a friend applying there. It's not difficult to call them to inquire about their health, how they cope with medical or marital issues, and offer advice and comfort. No matter how small, it can make all the difference. Avoid boredom. According to Schopenhauer, the most comprehensive survey shows that the two enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. Boredom is the second enemy of a happy life. This is a focus of his philosophy. As soon as we escape pain, we are prone to fall into a state of boredom, preventing us from having a fulfilling life. According to his pessimistic view, he does not see happiness as a common state of humans, but as an extraordinary and temporary moment. His work focuses not on happiness, but on pain and boredom. As soon as you eliminate pain from your life, you often feel boredom in its place, lacking joy. We always pursue what we want, need, or desire, and once we succeed in achieving our goals, we realize they don't bring the satisfaction or happiness we expected, and we continue to pursue something else for happiness, only to find ourselves back in the same boredom we were trying to avoid. Boredom is a state when you have everything you need and sometimes leads to nihilism and depression, because the motivation to chase material desires can never be satisfied. That's why we often see famous people who have everything in life but don't really know how to maintain their happiness. They soon fall into boredom, leading to nihilism and depression. They fall into drugs, divorce more often, and spend money carelessly, even committing suicide. To avoid this, Schopenhauer advises us to focus less on the external world and more on the inner self, less on possessions, and not to judge your worth based on your assets. By ignoring the glittering objects of the external world, you can truly escape the cycle of pain and burning boredom. To do this, you need to focus more on the connection between body and mind for a more holistic approach to life. Being mindful of every moment can help a lot in this. It helps you become more aware of the small but essential things in life. Simply starting with your breath. In addition, writing a gratitude journal every morning for all the good things in your life can help you avoid taking things for granted. A gratitude journal is a great shortcut to maintaining a fulfilling life without boredom. The only note is that you need to focus more on the blessings within yourself than on the external world, on your close relationships, rather than on dialogue about wealth, success, or fame. As we reach the end of our journey through the profound insights of Arthur Schopenhauer, it's clear that his perspectives challenge us to rethink our understanding of life and existence. Schopenhauer's philosophy, though seemingly bleak, offers a unique lens through which we can view our world and our place within it. His teachings remind us that life, with all its trials and tribulations, is a shared experience, one that calls for compassion, understanding, and a deep introspection into our own desires and expectations. In this video, we've delved into the idea of the world as a prison, a concept that may initially seem daunting but, upon closer examination, reveals a path to deeper wisdom and self-awareness. We've explored 7 profound life lessons from Schopenhauer, each offering a unique perspective on how to navigate the complexities of our existence. From understanding the true nature of happiness and the importance of limiting our expectations, to cultivating compassion and avoiding the pitfalls of boredom, Schopenhauer's teachings provide a roadmap for a life of thoughtful introspection and meaningful connections. As we conclude, I invite you to reflect on these lessons and consider how they might apply to your own life. If you found this exploration enlightening and thought-provoking, please consider liking and sharing this video. Your support helps us continue to bring content that challenges, inspires, and educates. Don't forget to subscribe to Stoic in Your Life and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss our upcoming videos, where we'll continue to explore the depths of philosophy and its application in our modern world. Thank you for joining us on this philosophical journey. Remember, in the words of Schopenhauer, the 2 enemies of human happiness are pain and boredom. Let us strive to navigate these challenges with wisdom, compassion, and a stoic resolve. Until next time, keep pondering, keep questioning, and stay stoic in your life.